Obama.
Bacon cream pies in your mom's eyes. Bacon cream pies all the time.
Anybody see my shoe?
I hate tomatoes, but I love ketchup.
Can't find it. I'm looking everywhere.
Thing, and it's not even true.
Please, I have to drive
when
home.
I think about you, and I have to say,
Have an
it
edible
was
earlier.
hard to leave you
I
alone.
think I'm gonna shit my pants.
Please, God, help me leave you alone.
Well, you want to go first?
Nope, you're doing it. Run it.
Okay. I am 28, and my dad was adamant on me growing up as an 80s child.
Yeah.
So I grew up on Knight Rider, A-Team, Transformers, and I used to have Pet
Hold
Shop
on,
Boys,
pal.
fucking cassettes.
Before you say it, ask the question again.
Okay, so here's the question. All right. You guys did not technically grow up in the 80s. So what do you think of the 80s? That's the question. What do you think of let me start with this. Do you dig the 80s? Like music?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love 80s pop.
Well, I noticed that there's a lot of nostalgia for 80s. You know, it's all over the place. And I've always been curious, like people who didn't grow up in the 80s, why do they dig it? Why is it so cool? So yeah, why do you guys like the 80s?
Well, I grew up, like I said, I kind of really grew up with it. You know, I collected cassette tapes. My dad would take me to yard sales. We'd find 25-cent Billy Joel, Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah.
So the music is it's what I listened to growing up. So I love it, you know, and it's such a creative music. It's different for like me, right? Because I got really into bass a while back, and I was a really big bass player. And even pop songs like Rio, Duran Duran, you have some of the nastiest staccato bass line that has ever existed.
Duran, man, they're just like, they were like this insane pop band, and then you like listen to bass line, you're like, what the hell is going on under
insane.
the hood? I know.
And Kajagoogoo, Too Shy. What is that? What the hell?
I know. That's a good one. That's a real good one. That's a weird song too.
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, I'd say for me is probably just like the creativity is a huge thing for me. Like I'm a huge into like punk music and stuff. So really the idea of like anybody can play, anybody can make music and get out there and do it is kind of like formed in the 80s, I think, you know?
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, like the late 70s punk movement was very much making that kind of claim. The punk sound but what's produced by that doesn't last very long. In other words, like anybody can play it is cool for a couple years. Yeah. And then it gets quickly replaced by the best, you know?
Right. Sure.
And then, you know.
What about the Ramones? They suck. I love the Ramones, but I'm just saying, like, their vocalist is terrible.
I don't agree. I mean, I guess that's an element of taste. I think that they are like kind of the perfect band for what they did. You know?
Have you seen their live stuff? Have you ever seen them live?
No, I never saw them live. I don't know if they ever toured through Oklahoma. So I would have been really young for them. I mean, I probably, like the 80s is one of those eras of music that's weird for me because it's when I was like 6 or 7 when it was just the water that I swam in, and I listened to 80s nonstop. And it's the music that is kind of untouchable in my mind. I don't listen to 80s music. I feel it. Like it puts me in a place that is very, very nostalgic. Makes me just, because I grew up in a really rural town in Oklahoma, and it just puts me back there. So I'm not even that judgmental of the music. I just kind of, especially the early part of the 80s, I sort of swim in it. But it's not like I went to concerts. First concert I went to is Hall & Oates. Okay.
Yo.
First concert. Played in Norman, Oklahoma. And their album, I don't know, remember the name of the album. It had the song Out of Touch on it. That album was I listened to a Walkman. I think it was like 1984. And that was like one of the greatest moments of my life, was listening to Hall & Oates on the playground on a Walkman and just like walking around the playground. And, you know, like, who cares? But that was like the first time that ever happened to me. And it was so amazing. It was like the most amazing experience of my life. One of them.
You know, that this isn't really an 80s thing, but it's an interesting thing. You know, there's always some music that will appeal to you that doesn't appeal to the general public, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, more than just like, I listen to a lot of like little bands that nobody else knows, and, you know, but specifically like, talking about like music nostalgia. For me, 90s Metallica, like Load and Reload, which are two albums that even Metallica fans hate.
Yeah.
You know? And I love those albums, and they mean so much to me because that was, you know, same thing. I was a little kid on the playground on the swing singing Fuel, and
yeah,
you know,
that's a powerful, you know, because when you're a kid at that age, you're not judgmental because you're not really comparing it to anything else. You're accepting it for what it is. And it's also at that age, things are so much more magnified. Like they have a deeper resonance with you. And so like those particular albums, like that's when I was a very astute Metallica fan. And I was dying for those albums to come out because I love the Black Album. And so when Load came out, I was pissed, you know. I was out. I was so out. I was like, no, you know, because I liked, you know, like I start off with, okay, I was in high school, so I was a different mental place. Mm-hmm. So when the Black Album comes out, which is one of the greatest albums of all time, period, it just is. I know, you know, everybody has their dispute. Those songs are unlike any other songs ever written, and it's just a weird record where there's some real magic being heard. But that's the album that got me into Metallica, and of course I go backwards in time with Metallica, and so I become more of a fan of what they had done. So when they go to Load, they're kind of going further into the black, but being influenced by grunge music, and so they don't do guitar solos. You know, their songs are shorter. You know, they're songs. And so I was let down by what came after it because of where I was at the time. But, I mean, what you're saying about albums that you really connect with that nobody else likes, I have them. I have all kinds of stuff like that. And for me, it's all stuff in the 80s. Stuff in the 80s that hits that bone, you know.
Nice.
I got a question about, I guess, being young in the 80s. What was the local scene like?
Oh, no idea. I have no clue.
Oh, really?
No, I was like, okay, I was born in 1977. All right. So by the time I was 10 years old, okay, it's 1987. So I'm not going to like concerts. Okay. So I didn't go to concerts really until the 1990s. And those concerts were brutal. I mean, everything had to be hard. You know, that's like how I would, if I didn't like something, it's not hard. And they were, you know, concerts where everybody would go and just kick each other's ass at anything, at any concert. People would throw stuff it didn't matter who you were watching. People were throwing stuff at the stage. I mean, they were scary. It was like literal Roadhouse, you know.
That's awesome.
I remember watching Roadhouse and being like, oh, that's kind of nice. They have that fence there. That makes sense, you know?
Yeah, so that's kind of like, you know, 90s Woodstock, but everywhere.
But everywhere. And actually, like, 90s Woodstock was not shocking at all in the 90s. That's what concerts were like. It was, you know, a physical experience, you know?
My uncle was real big in, I'm from Jacksonville, and he was actually really big into the scene that Limp Bizkit was coming up through.
Right.
And so, you know, he knew, oh my God, their guitarist, I can't remember his name, Wes Borland. He knew Wes Borland personally, so he used to go to all their shows. And he's telling me about a place in Jax called the Milk Bar, where there was a guy who got up into, like, the ducting. He was like hanging from the ducting and just kicking people in the head during the show.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah,
I'm about a punk show, man. I'll go and I love a good push mosh and whatnot, but I'm not much of an elbow or.
I got my butt kicked at concerts. I mean, I would kind of get into the pit, think I'm tough, and it would just like I'd hear like bones crack, and I'd be like, okay, I'm not doing that. But it was a completely accepted part of the concert experience. It was, very the crowd surfing and stuff. If a girl got up there, it was immediately like you'd see all these guys groping her. It was very physical, and it wasn't really questioned. It was just how it was,
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, thankfully now, especially, it's a much cleaner ordeal, especially at a lot of the metal concerts. I've gone to a couple of big festivals, and you'll still see guys, try to rip their shirts off and whatnot, but they usually end up getting their ass kicked pretty quick.
Yeah.
People don't really tolerate a lot of that anymore,
I think the person, if you want to talk about the local music scene in the 80s, you should talk to Scott Booker. He'd really give you the report on that. And I'm sure he'd be down to talk with you about it because, that's how he saw the Lips during that era, which is really an interesting era for the band. It's not talked about a whole lot, but, talking about visceral shows, they were like lighting stuff on fire and doing all kinds of weird stuff. Wow. At the shows themselves in the 80s. But I was
Kiss. Some interesting stuff about that is like my dad, I just went to go see Cinderella with my dad earlier, like last week. And he said that, or who's their guitarist? Like Robert something?
I don't know. No.
Well, he said that his band, when he was a kid, had that guitarist and he kicked him out because he was weird. And then he went and played for the Flaming Lips.
Oh.
And I was like, what?
Was it? It must have been Ronnie. It must have been the Ronnie days. So if, that band, Flaming Lips have had a lot of eras as a band. And the 90s era for a lot of Flaming Lips fans is like a very coveted era because Stephen Droz, who writes a lot of songs, he was playing drums and he has a very kind of interesting way of playing drums. And then Ronnie, and I don't know Ronnie's last name, was playing guitar, and he was like a savant noise guitarist. Very, very unusual approach to the guitar. And those records can be either amazing or horrible. Like it's kind of like they either make sense to you and you're 100% on board, or you're like, turn this off, please. I don't want to listen to this.
I think it's weird that the Flaming Lips have taken they're so big here in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? It's like the whole school is made because of it,
Well, have you ever seen them? Have you ever seen them live?
No.
Okay. They're probably one of the greatest live bands of all time. I have no problem saying that. They have like the most, it's a psychedelic circus. Every song has so much going on visually. And when my band first started working with Scott Booker, he'd be like, come watch a Flaming Lip concert. And I was just so terrified. It's like, how could we, this is your main client. How would we ever come up to this level of like showmanship, at a show? Yeah. And it's a show. When I say one of the best live bands, I mean in terms of show, like not necessarily as performer, like that's not what they're known for. We're talking about like an experience you've never encountered before as as someone watching a show. That's what they're amazing at,
Oh yeah.
I asked him because I was looking at doing artist management, and I asked him, how do you get someone, like if you're going up to an artist and you want to sign them or whatever, what do you tell them that makes them want to sign with you?
Well, so what you would do is if you dug a band, okay, you would just go, hey, how can I help you? That's how I would do it. Just start there. Don't sign them. Don't do anything like that. And the reason you don't want to do that is because maybe you don't want to work with them. You got to kind of get a sense of what they're like too. But just start off going, hey, what what do you guys need help with? You need me to put up flyers? You want me to help you get some shows locally? What can I do? What do you need help with? I love the band. I want to help you guys be successful. And then that'll give you an idea of what they're like, and if you can have a relationship with them. And then after you've done that for a little while, you kind of know, and they kind of know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like dating to a degree. So it's like you've been dating for 6 months, and then you're like, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, right? Or whatever. You're my partner,
sure,
right? Yeah. We're going out, right? There's a natural thing to it, and it has to go that way because it's so intimate of a relationship. I mean, you're going to be the person that knows all their bank account numbers and all their social security numbers, and their private life is going to be something you're going to deal with. So it has to kind of happen that way. That's what I'd say.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like that. That was a good answer.
Cool.
Thank you.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
You mentioned like noise guitar, and I wanted to kind of see where you feel about like noise as music.
I think it's the most underrated genre. I think it's the first genre. All right. It's the first genre of music is noise. Okay. It's the easiest genre to be involved in. Anybody can make noise, which makes it also a genre that's oversaturated with horrible, horrible artists. Yeah. But a really, really good noise artist to me is my happy, warm spot. I love noise music, but it's hard to find really good noise bands. Who's a really, really good noise band? And all my friends, I'm driving my friends crazy with this. A really, really good noise band. And they're not known as this, but they're a really good noise band, are the Chemical Brothers. Okay.
Oh, I know them.
Listen to their album, their second full-length album.
It's too song about noise.
Came out in the 90s. Hang on, I'll look at it for you. Came out in the 90s. This is a band I think is really underrated. They're known for big beat. They're one of these bands that kind of defined late 90s electronic music with Prodigy and everything. Mm. But people have overlooked what they contributed. Okay, so the album is Dig Your Own Hole. That's a noise album, okay? Listen to that record. They've got like bass parts and they have these catchy bits, but there's just so much noise in that record. And what's amazing about the Chemical Brothers is they do electronic stuff. They've got organic drums. They've got analog synths. Everything's live. The drummer of the band, one of the guys was a drummer. They bring noise and they bring melody. It's a very unusual conception of a career, but I like to run, and so I'm always looking for bands that have like good running music, and so like Chemical Brothers, I think are probably the best of all bands, of all artists that make the best exercise music. I put them at the top because their stuff is just like when you've been going for like an hour and you're like, I have to stop. You turn that on and you can go for another hour. You're just like, okay, I can do it.
Wild.
Anyway,
I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But I wanted to bring it back to noise. So what are your thoughts on noise?
I love it. I got into it because of ambient. And I got steered in the direction of Zeit by Tangerine Dream, which is, if you've never heard it, it is a phenomenal album. It's got 20-minute tracks where there's detuned cellos going over buses going down the road while there's water bubbling in a stream.
Yeah. And
that did so much to me when I first heard it that ever since I've been incorporating that into music that I do. A lot of times, like on rainy days, I'll take a good microphone and toss it out the window of my bedroom, and I'll just try to get that nice sound, that nice warm spring rain sound.
Another thing too about noise is what you're talking about. Noise does something on a personal level that most songwriting doesn't really do, which is it brings you into the world you live in. So your spring rain recording might not do very much for other people. It might, who knows? But think of what it does for you, like it just, you are zooming into the world and you're feeling a moment that you're experiencing life in that moment. Noise allows you to do that when you're writing songs and you're trying to write hits or whatever. you're in the moment of what's an audience going to like. You're not even really experiencing reality, but like recording noise allows you to do that. There's okay, I have a recommendation. Let me try to find this guy's name. There's a guy, he does these, he started a band, he was in a band called Cabaret Voltaire. But I want to give you his real name. Chris Watson. His name's Chris Watson, okay? And Chris Watson, he does a lot of like sound recording for films. Like if you see like a BBC documentary about nature, if you look up who the sound recordist, a lot of times he's the sound recordist. Okay. But he takes his nature recordings and makes albums out of them, you know? And so it'll be like a glacier with like some birds, and it's ambient music, but it's also noise recordings, and it's very interesting, and it's really, really cool. He's just a very cool artist, and nobody ever talks about him, but I love that stuff.
I'm interested in noise. Can't say that I know what it is. So can we do a song of the week noise?
Yeah, what would be a good example of a good noise track?
So pretty much, yeah. So you come up with a song, he's going to come up with a song, and then I'm going to come up with a song that I think is noise, I guess, after you guys.
Yeah. Because the definition of it's so wide.
I just feel like it's going to be difficult, too, because a lot of it, especially the stuff I listen to, being more in the ambient side, is longer songs, so it's difficult to really capture what it is in like a little 30-second snippet.
I got you. That makes sense.
I don't know.
I mean, well, noise is really like, noise can be anything. It can be defined as music, and it doesn't have, it just sort of challenges what we conceive of music to be. I guess like anything that's not specifically based on normal harmony or melody would be something I'd label as noise. You know, any musical experience that's not based on rhythm, that's not based on melody, not based on harmony, that would be where I put in the category of noise. But it can do that, you know. I mean, like Chemical Brothers, like I said, they use a lot of noise in their music, but their stuff is based on that. So, what would be? It's a good question. I've never really thought about this.
I see. I don't know. I was thinking like big wall of sound type of thing.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. One answer would be, okay, there's a band called the Swan, they're just called Swans.
Yeah.
And they put up these 3 albums, Glowing Man, and then there are 2 before it. I can't remember the name of those records off the top of my head. But what would be a song of theirs I'd recommend? I just, you know, which one captures it? I don't know. Because
have you ever listened to? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt again.
Oh no,
there's a little bit of a delay. I was just wondering if you ever listen to any like post metal.
I don't know. Who are some of the artists that would be considered post metal?
I would say generally like Pelican, Isis, Neurosis, Russian Circles.
I recognize the names. I recognize Russian Circles. I recognize Isis.
It's really just like doom metal and crust punk and shoegaze kind of all thrown together. It's really weird.
I'll have to check that out. I like the idea of all that stuff. You know, My Bloody Valentine is a pretty noisy band. I mean, they're pretty famous for that.
Okay.
We talk about shoegaze.
Yeah, so they're like shoegaze, right?
They're labeled shoegaze, but their music's really noisy, and they didn't know what that was at the time when they were coming out with their records. Yeah. You know, honestly, I think that My Bloody Valentine, specifically live, is an example of noise because they're famous for turning their instruments up, everything up super, super loud, everybody has to wear earplugs. Okay. So it's like you're having an extremely loud musical experience. And actually, I would say My Bloody Valentine's is the band. Like, so what's the track you should listen to that's the noise track? I don't know, because there are tracks of theirs they did like a remix record that really is the one that I would say. But here's what I want to say about My Bloody Valentine. You'll listen to their sounds, their recording, and you'll hear stuff in the frequencies that are musical, that are just the response. It's just a like an artifact of the sound. It's not being controlled. It's just like a thing in the frequency itself. It's not like someone's not playing something. You're just hearing it because it's so noisy. But their album. Okay, their first album is the album. Okay, I'll tell you the song. I got it. Okay, give me a second. Here's what I would label as sort of, if I made a playlist of noise tracks, all right? My Bloody Valentine, album's called Isn't Anything, and the song would be maybe it's All I Need. Let me look it up. Yeah. All I Need. Okay. All I Need by My Bloody Valentine Isn't Anything is a noise record that I would put on my playlist. I'd put Chris Watson on there. I'd put John Cage on there. But like the Chris Watson and the John Cage stuff, it's not something you necessarily going to emote to emotionally in a powerful way. But I do love that track by My Bloody Valentine. I think that's a great track.
Awesome. Do you mind if I play a couple of seconds of it real quick?
Do it,
and
man.
then in post, I'll overdub it. That's wicked.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And that's quintessential shoegaze. Like that's, shoegaze is definitely, and they have like B-sides. They're one of those bands, they've only put out 3 records. And they're one of those bands that every single thing they've ever done, their fans try to find and listen to, and they're considered a shoegaze band. I think they're a noise band. I actually think they're a noise rock band. That's where I would label them. And they're a very listenable noise rock band.
Have you ever heard of Sun?
Oh, yeah. S-U-U-N?
No, it's S-U-N-N, and then they have the O and then the little apostrophes.
Okay, then okay. I think so. But wouldn't they be called Sun-O? I don't know.
No, because it's actually, so it's an icon that they replicated from an old Sun Model T amplifier. Where it had the sun radiating heat off the side. So they recreated it using O and then the parenthesis.
Okay. All right. So it's that's really cool. Well, and they did an album. Okay. I got another. Okay. Here we go. Here's another one. All right. Noise artist. One of the greatest. Okay. Not easy listening, but one of the greatest is Scott Walker. All right. And because Sun did a record with Scott Walker, I believe.
Okay.
Scott Walker he's such an interesting artist because he was a pop artist in the 60s. He's got a super croony voice. Had a pop career. Okay, had a pop career. And then in the 80s, he started making these conceptual records that you just have to listen to them. I mean, they're like David Bowie on his, on his biggest acid trips. He's known to like, the lore about him is he records these records and he never listens to them ever again. He won't listen to anything he's put out. Do you guys watch David Lynch movies at all?
Is that the guy who did Eraserhead?
Yes.
I'm familiar, but I haven't had the opportunity to watch a lot of his stuff.
Okay. Well, Eraserhead's kind of a tough. I mean, some people like love it. I would start with Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive to see if you have a taste for him. And if you don't like those films, you're probably not going to go much further with him. But Eraserhead as a piece of music is what I would call Scott Walker. And he is straight up a noise artist. Like, he has melody and he has songs, but he uses noise. He uses noise in his composition. Like, he has a song where he's like, the rhythm of the song is them hitting a big thing of beef. You just hear him hitting meat, and that's part of the soundscape that he's exploring. I put that on my list of like noise. I like how this has gone from 80s to noise. I'm down.
Yeah.
But he did a record. He did a record with Sun, and I'll listen to Sun. I mean, where should I start with Sun?
I would say It Took the Night to Believe. It's probably their biggest song, and it's really just their biggest thing is the guitar tone. That's their thing. They're atonal and arrhythmic, and they play with out-of-tune guitars.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of times, both of them, when they play live, will have like 10 full stacks behind them at full volume. They do some of the loudest concerts in the world right now. It's crazy. But that's what I was going to choose for my song of the week really quick. And I'm going to subject you to it again, put it up to the microphone. So
yeah. Can you hear it at all?
I can hear it just like a little bit.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm going to play 30.
What's the track?
It Took the Night to Believe.
Okay, got it.
And I'm going to play a little 30 seconds of that real quick.
All right.
And very shortly after that, it's joined by some disgustingly shrill vocals.
Yeah.
That are just kind of coming in and out as they please.
Okay. I'd be curious to see what you guys think of my next music. I'll have to send it to you when I get it done. I mean, a lot of stuff you're talking about is stuff I'm kind of working on, but I don't want to say anymore until I get it done.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned that in class. Like, you're an artist. You make music.
Yeah, my band's called Colourmusic. It's one word, color spelled with a U, because when we started, I had a British guy in the band. I just thought it looked sexier than the American spelling. We have noise music. I have a song called Beard. That's a noise track. We have an album called May You Marry Rich. We have a song called Dream Girl 82 that I think would qualify as a noise track. I've always liked noise in music and using it. I've always used it. Okay, I'll say this. Okay, so I did an album called Swimsuit, which was a failure, by the way. If you're talking about 80s, it's a kind of an 80s album. I wanted to do an album where you used, I called it erotic noise. That was what I was trying to do, was use noise and make it erotic in the way that late 80s, early 90s music was very erotic. Mm-hmm. And I have a song called Swimsuit. That was the closest I got to it. All right. But I failed. Okay. I failed at my goal. And when I listened to it, I'm like, you didn't even come close. But I tried. Somebody says I tried.
Hey, that's how it's done. Let me see if I can come up with what I thought would. I guess I would be interested to know if you guys think this is noise. But I have to find the song first. So
no sweat.
Yeah, keep talking.
You know who? Okay. You know who else is a good noise artist? Is Daft Punk on their very first album. All right. Songs like, let me find it here. And it's similar to Chemical Brothers, but on Daft Punk's first album, Homework, okay, songs like Rock and Roll, Burning, Rolling and Scratching, listen to how they're using noise. It's straight up using noises to create intensity. Now it's rhythmic and it's propulsive, but those are noise tracks, man. I mean, they really killed it. I think those are really cool noise tracks.
Wicked. So like, what about like Lipman Conjuring or something like that by Tool? Would you say that there's noise in that too?
In
or
Tool?
Lost Keys? Yeah, Tool. Because they have songs like Lost Keys where you just hear a guy walking around for like a good 4.5 minutes. There's just footsteps going from left to right.
I was going to say that, like, okay, so from Tool, like we're talking about Tool, I would say that like their sound experiments are noise. But their songs are not, kind of almost the opposite to me because they're so highly composed, you know? And they don't use a lot of noise in their songs themselves. You know, it's usually just the primary instruments playing it. So I don't really hear a lot of noise textures in their music. But I would not, you know, but they're in between tracks or whatever, definitely, you know. And I mean,
that's the stuff I'm talking about. You know, like Aeon Blue Apocalypse, the weird little 2-3 minute long things that they do in between the big songs.
I love that stuff too. I mean, that's the thing that I feel like Tool's missing. The modern Tool's missing is their sense of humor. Like they're just not funny anymore. You know, they got kind of too serious about themselves. And so I love the serious stuff. I mean, I love what they do, but I miss their surrealism. I kind of feel like Tool has gotten to where they know themselves too well and they don't really try new stuff. It's Tool. We know what Tool is. This is what we're going to do. And so for me as a listener, it's not very exciting, you know?
I agree. I was a huge Tool fan. I was in a Tool cover band for like 2 years. And,
oh my God. That's some work, man. That's a lot of work.
I was the bassist too, so I had a lot of fun.
Big Tool cover guy.
Yeah, I love Tool.
All right, let me know if this is noise to you guys. No,
is this False Choice?
Is that at the drive-in? I can't tell.
No, I haven't listened to them in a long time, so I didn't know what it was going to sound like. But when I saw them live, it was like you couldn't even tell what was going on. It was it was more.
I consider that noisy, like live. Like when stuff gets out of control and you can't really discern stuff, I would call that noise. But when they recorded it, like I can't hear you're playing the phone and the mic, so it's real tinny. That sounded really controlled to me. And I mean, it
definitely was.
The guitar's noisy. But okay, I got another noise band for you. And we're talking about ambient, okay?
Oh.
And it's one record, okay? Okay. The band's called The Orb. ORB. All right. And they were massive in the early 90s. Okay. And they were the band, in my opinion, that kind of took up the psychedelic elements of Pink Floyd the most. So much so that actually David Gilmour did a collaboration with them, which is weird. But the record is called Pommes Frites. All right. It means French fries in French. All right. This is a straight up noise record, man. I mean, it is crazy. And the band was wildly successful, you know, in the electronic world. It's a straight up noise record. And you talk about ambient noise. This is an ambient noise record, and no one talks about it. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Wait, I guess Full of Hell. Have you ever heard of Full of Hell?
No,
they're definitely noise. I know that they're noise, but I never liked them, so I never liked them. So
I think that noise artists sometimes can be too conceptual And so they make stuff that sounds really crappy, but but it's got a concept behind it, and so therefore it's worth putting out. But it's just, I don't want to listen to that, you know. I don't know about Full of Hell, but I think noise artists, they kind of give themselves a pass. Like Lou Reed is real famous for an album called Metal Machine Music, which is a noise album. Okay, it's just him, like, I don't know what he's doing. He's just making grating sounds with noise, and it's famous because he's famous. And people try to take it seriously, but it's just kind of, who cares? It's a kind of a who cares.
It's like when Kanye put out that song where he was just like, scoop to poop. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but Kanye put out, dude, he hyped it up and everybody was so excited for it. And it comes on, it's all like, lift yourself up off your feet. It's got this cool sample from like some 60s R&B. And then he's just like, poopa de scoop, scoop de poop, poop de whoop de scoop. And what's really crazy is that it was the best-selling song on iTunes for like a week. It was wild.
I don't remember that song. I'm not that into Kanye, so I mean, like I know a lot of students are really into him at the school. I'll listen to stuff I listen to, but I'm never like blown away. I always feel like it's, you know, it's okay.
Hey, he sampled King Crimson, man. I'll give him some credit there. You know, that's cool.
I don't really like his music, but like, I think he's got like a creative mind.
Oh, for sure.
Which is cool.
No, I agree with that. You're right. He is definitely a creative thinker. I agree with that. But it just doesn't cook my chili when I listen to it. I'm never like, oh my God, I gotta listen to it. There are moments where I think it's really cool. Was it Black Skinhead? Like the nastiness of that. I was like, that's really cool. You know.
Sure.
But you know, but you're right. He did sample King Crimson, and that says it all. So,
so I guess let's move on. I'm interested in like what brought you into being a teacher at this school.
Well, okay, so I was an artist. I mean, I still am an artist. It's just like I'm a dad now, so it's like I feel like I'm an artist on pause. I just have to take care of babies. But basically, I was a part of the school way back in the beginning because the school has a UK connection. And my band was, you know, working with Scott. He was managing us and stuff. And so he was telling us about the plans. And so I was there before the school was even like a real thing. And then whenever we toured the UK stuff, we would actually go to the UK school and rehearse there. And, you know, they were all really cool. So when he started it, he was like, hey, would you want to teach some of the classes? And I was like, sure, I'd love to teach it. And the schedule was really great as an artist. I have a master's degree in English, so I actually have probably a little bit more university background than a lot of the other instructors here. So it just became kind of a thing where it's like, well, Ryan, you want to teach more? And I was like, sure. And so it was just kind of one of those things where it just worked out really well for me.
Hey, I'll tell you what, awesome. I've got another question specifically about my future.
Okay.
When I get this degree, like how much weight is it going to hold? Because like, could I get a job in the music industry with this degree? Or
certain areas, yes, and certain areas, no. All right. And that's a great question for you to ask yourself. And it's a question that I really kind of like in my business classes and stuff, I really want to emphasize to students that we're going to teach you how the industry works, but knowing that will help you when you get a job, but getting the job itself, a lot of times you got to figure that out on your own, because so much of what matters for people's jobs and stuff is your connections, you know, your networking, who you know, and they need to feel like you're someone that would work great and is a cool hang. Okay. So I don't know exactly what your path is, but like if you were trying to get a job at like a live venue, yes, it would. Because you know something about the industry, and they're not, you know, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of connections. Live gigs are everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's live gigs in some capacity. Yes, it would. Would it help you get a job as a tour manager? No, because you've got to know people. So you would know stuff, but to get the job as a tour manager, you would need to know someone. And that's where
live venues first.
I know. I'm thinking like a record label or like Milk and Honey, which is like an artist management company.
You could get internships for sure, and there might be some paid internships that you could get a job doing. but it's going to go back to who you know. Okay.
Sure.
Because they're going to want to know. They're going to want to know if you're cool, if you have a cool taste. So a major label, yes, but are you good? You're going to have to move where they are. All right.
Yeah.
And you can apply for it. But see, I would tell you, Austin, I would say if you are just handing out your resume, and of course, I know I have your music culture, so it's a different style class than the other ones I teach. But I would tell you, you have not listened to anything I've said in any of my classes, because I'd say if your only connection to that business is your resume, you failed. You've got to already know them. And so I would say this for any college student, by the way, but here at ACM, I think because the people who teach at the school are actually practitioners, we're always advocating you want to make those connections while you're in school right now. You want to be trying to get either internships or getting to get to know people, or going to getting yourself out there. So when it's time for you to go out there, you already have connections of where to go. That's what I'd say. So if you want to work at a record label and you go to my classes, I'd say, hey, let's what record labels are you into? Let's start figuring out a way to make a connection now. That's what I'd say. If you wait until you graduate, you're going to have to do that stuff then. And then you've got the cost of working and all this other stuff that might slow you down from making progress. So that's what I'd say.
Gotcha. Awesome.
But you know stuff. So like versus the other people trying to get the job who don't know anything, you would know stuff. Sure. You would know the differences between, publishing and how publishing works, and, contracts and copyright and all that stuff. And that would speed up their ability to have to educate you on how the business works.
Well, hell yeah. There you go. Get your foot in the door, work in the mailroom, work your way up.
That's right.
Dude, yeah, the opportunities are slim.
One thing that you're doing that stands out is what you're doing right now.
Yeah, the podcast.
Yeah, and bring in some local bands. I promise you're going to immediately stand out. And of course, I have to leave in like 3 minutes, by the way.
Sure.
But
I do too.
But your podcast is an ace in the hole. I don't think you realize this, of making connections. You have a legit reason to contact anybody you want, but really locally to bring them onto your podcast. All right.
Yeah.
And like a lot of bands and stuff want to promote themselves. So if they could get on here to just talk about their band or whatever, would be something that would be a real asset for them. So I would say, start where you're sitting right now. Use that as a reason to reach out and get to know people.
We've done that. We've had a couple of pretty fun bands on. We had Mr. Phil's on, and we've had Carvist on.
Yeah, we've had some Tim Baltas. He's like one of my favorite drummers ever to exist. We've had some cool artists on for sure.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you're doing it. I'm telling you, that's actually very rare that you have a podcast. I was really surprised to hear about you guys have podcasts. Does this podcast get uploaded to, all the major podcasts, or what?
It's going to be on all services. It's going to be on
YouTube, Spotify,
all the ones that Spotify shoots it out to by itself, But YouTube and Spotify is like the biggest ones that we're on.
Okay, I'm going to have to step off, but let me do one moment of self-promotion, all right?
Okay.
Check out, we're talking about noise rock. I feel like I have to say this. Listen to our song Beard, okay? Listen to that, and then you tell me if you think that's noise rock.
All right.
Wicked.
Hey, it was great talking to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Maybe we'll do this again. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. See you, Austin. Okay, see you guys.
Bye. Do you want to listen to his song before we cut it? Or you got to go?
Do it. It was Colourmusic.
Yeah. Shit. I'd love to see them live.
Yeah.
It's definitely noise.
Yeah. So
that's definitely noise.
It kind of reminds me of some Queens of the Stone Age, dude.
I liked it a lot. That they actually, I'm gonna check out the rest of his music.
Same.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Very cool guy. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man.
And listening. I guess we're gonna have a bunch of new artists come on. We're gonna do more
music.
More music stuff. Christian likes that.
I love that. I can't wait to get him on and just talk shit to him.
All right, and we're doing a Beats Music Fest, I guess. So we're moving further into music here. So we're doing Beats Music Fest in May, and we're doing.
When is it in May?
I think it's the 25th.
That's fine.
So we're doing that in May, and then we're doing an anime fest.
Woo! I don't know anything about anime.
On 420. Neither do I, so tune in for do some fuck shit on an anime thing. All right, see ya. Bacon cream pies in your mom's eyes. Bacon cream pies all the time.
Nobody's seen my shoe.
I hate tomatoes, but I love ketchup.
Can't find it. I'm looking everywhere.
Thing, and it's not even true.
Please, I have to drive home.
I think about you, and I have to say
I have an edible
it was
earlier.
hard to leave you alone.
I think I'm gonna shit my pants.